Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cub Chat Live. Welcome, as always, to Anthony. We're so lucky to have Anthony on with us today. Hi, Anthony. How you doing?
Hi, Gina. How are you?
I am good. I'm excited for today's show. We have a topic that I don't think that we've ever. This topic has come up when we've talked about other topics pretty rarely, but I don't think we've gotten to talk about this before. We're talking about something super important, which is incident reporting. Anthony, what exactly is incident reporting?
Well, this is a serious topic, but we don't want to be afraid of it. So that's why we wanted to bring it to Cub Chat Live and make sure that our Cub Scout leaders, everyone, is aware that there is such a thing that of incident reporting. So what is it? So it is the way for the BSA to gather data and information on things that happened or things that could have happened that relate to safety. And that allows us, the more data points we have, the more information we have of what's going on in everything from den meetings to pack overnighters, allows us to be able to evaluate, was that situation just purely an accident? In other words, there was no real precaution we could have taken to prevent that. Or was it that we have rules and regulations in place, they just weren't being followed? Or is it a matter of we need to evaluate our training and how we're training our adult leaders? Or maybe there's a need for training that there's a gap there. Or we need to really evaluate our program delivery or our program content itself. And so instead of making those decisions in a bubble, we really find those incident reports of a valuable tool to help us make data informed decisions about keeping our program safe.
And you have already started to touch on this in your answer, but why does incident reporting exist? What does the BSA do with this information when it's reported?
Yeah, so the process, the first step, and for more information, let's give up the website, the QR code. So get your phones out, and we want you to certainly follow this QR code, bookmark it. It's an important one to have. I would put it right on the same level as the guide to safe scouting. Hopefully, you have that bookmarked on your mobile device as well. But the incident reporting website has all the information that you need, the details of the report itself, when to report. But the first key steps that we want to make sure people understand about when something happens is that you first and foremost take care of the people who may be injured or harmed and make sure that everyone's safe. That's step number one, right? And that may include needing to call emergency services. We're going to learn that not every incident needs to be at an extreme level for you to complete an incident report. But that's the first step. Make sure that everyone is safe and secure, and that if needed, emergency services on their way. The next is write down, document what happened. That's really important. And it's going to come into play when you fill out your incident report itself. Who was there, a timeline of what happened, and there's no detail that we don't want to know. Just to be honest, more times than not, there's lack of detail that makes it very hard for us to understand the whole environment, the situation, what was going on. Don't assume that we know. Don't assume that we know what your council camp is like. We don't assume that we know what kind of state park this is, what kind of campsite it was. Was it wooded? Was it a field? Those types of things really do help us when we look at these incidences. So um, write down as much detail as you possibly can. Again, a timeline really is helpful. Names, associations. Was this someone's parent? Is this someone who's a registered leader? Those types of things also help us as well. And then when everything is secured, as soon as you possibly can, we want you to go to the website for incident reporting and complete an incident report. And then once you complete that, you submit that to your council. And then your council has the process of being able to put that through a portal that we have where we are able to collect all this data and information.
Very interesting. I think what you said at the top of that answer is really important, where you're talking about the first thing to do when an incident occurs. And it's really important for our leaders to understand, hey, this incident reporting is very important. But what's also important is taking that initial needed action. If you need to call, for emergency help, if you need to, of course, call, do what you need to do first, but make sure the incident reporting is a second line and another important step of what you do. Now, I want to you've said near misses a couple times, and I want to get into what that means
Mhm.
exactly. But and maybe you'll cover that here too. But what I would also like to know, you've emphasized that this is serious. We just want to make sure people are aware that this exists. Who really needs to know about incident reporting, Anthony?
The more people, the better, right? Just like everything else, when we're talking about safety, the more people that are aware of how to keep a safe environment, the better. And this is part of that. And we talked about near misses. Let's talk about the three different types of reports that are on the incident reporting website. The first is probably what everyone's coming to mind right now, which is, it's something tragic, right? Someone got hurt really bad, and it's catastrophic. Well, that's certainly there. That's one of the first forms that are there. Someone has physical bodily harm. Um, that that's a standard incident report, probably what everyone's thinking in their head. But then we also have a special incident report for any violation of youth protection or suspect of abuse. And that is also, we can't emphasize enough the importance of the detail of the incident when it comes to that. That allows us to make sure we're evaluating our processes and procedures and making sure that the rules that we have in place, when they're being used, are effective. And knowing whether or not that process was in place is important, not so that we can get someone in trouble. That's really important. We need honesty in here. And so making sure that our policies, if they weren't being followed, that it's understood that they weren't being followed. Um, that's a key element for us as well. Then there's a near miss. Now, a near miss sounds kind of odd. And you say, well, why do you need to know about those things? Well, it's important. This is a way to be more proactive in our safety measurements. Um, did something almost happen? Everyone's fine, but kind of by luck, we were all okay, right? Or there was something that we see that does not look safe, so we decided not to do it. But we were the ones who decided not to do it. There wasn't someone else telling us that this was no longer safe. Those types of situations help us evaluate again, our training, our content, our delivery options. Those things really help us create a safer environment, whether it be at a council camp, whether it be at a state park. It could have been at a den meeting. That those things help us know that, okay, well, this wasn't a safe environment, for example. Well, maybe we need to do a better job of letting people know that there's actually a checklist for your meeting place, and that going through that checklist would let people know that, okay, these are the types of things that you should have in place at any place that you're meeting with your Cub Scouts. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to come out with stronger or stricter policies. It just may mean that we need to do a better job of communicating the tools that are there and available to adult leaders.
Yes, I'm thinking of our SAFE acronym, where you kind
Yes.
of go back and cross compare and see, like, where was one place where we could have improved a bit, or did we miss something, or was there just not something we didn't think through. That's an interesting way to look at it. Now, you said something before. Actually, before I get there, I want to point out, behind the scenes, Brian dropped that health and safety link to the incident report in the comments wherever you're watching. So be sure to check that out. Jesse said we covered this at Roundtable. We were talking
Awesome.
about
Thank you,
that.
Jesse.
Yep, very good. And Rusty says, hello from Pack 84. Hey, Pack 84, thanks for tuning in. Guys, today we're talking about incident reporting. We've covered why it exists, what it is, what different kinds of incidences there are. We've said, the more people who know about this, the better. But Anthony said something that stuck with me since before the show started. he said we want to increase the incidences that are reporting, and that's not reported. That's not a bad thing. And I know what he didn't mean by that was we want to have more incidents. I think he was thinking we
Yes.
want to have fewer. Of course, we always want to have as few of incidents as possible, but people need to feel very transparent about reporting them.
Absolutely. That's the element that is a cultural challenge, not just within a scout. That's not a scouting culture. I think that's just a human nature of, oh, this wasn't bad enough to report, right? But if a Cub Scout cuts their finger um, when they're doing an activity, we like to know about that. But if only one person reports that, that looks like it doesn't happen a lot. But if everyone's reporting that, then we can see, oh, this is happening frequently, that this activity we need to evaluate if we should continue to do it, or maybe there's something that we need to add to our adult leader training that identifies that, hey, this is a way to mitigate this risk, right? That this activity, make sure that you wear gloves or that everyone's, protected in some way to prevent that from happening, right? So again, it doesn't mean that we're using this data to try to find more rules and regulations. It sometimes allows us to identify, oh, here's a trend that's happening, and we have things in place. We're just maybe need to make those connections better, or there's a training opportunity or an educational opportunity that's happening, and that could be from a national scale for us. It could be geographical, right? We could start seeing things that, oh, in this area there tends to be this trend where there's a lot more trips and tripping hazards that are happening of near misses, right? You fill out a report when you see that, wow, this area that we're at, that we go to a lot, that other scouters go to a lot, there seems to be a lot of tripping hazards, right? There's a lot of uprooted stumps or loose rocks or whatever it might be, right? Those types of things um, that are observed and reported back to us, and that lets us know that those are opportunities that we have, again, to make sure that we're providing the safest environment as we possibly can, knowing that there's inherent risk in some of the things that we do, but we also know that there's a safe way to do those things, and that's why they're part of the scouting program.
Yeah, so I was kind of wondering that at the top of the show, what does the BSA do with this information? And my gut was, I bet the health and safety team and the program team looks, and if they're seeing like a lot of kids are getting paper cuts at this rank at this time of year when they're covering this elective, then they think, what's going on there? It
Right.
kind of
No,
gives
that's a good
information.
example.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
perfect.
very good example, and that data is reviewed. You're right; it's in conjunction with health and safety as well as the program team, and outdoor programs as well. That's kind of a team effort that we have when it comes to this. Again, it allows us to evaluate, are the policies that we have in place working, and is this a case where one of the policies wasn't being followed, right? And if it had been followed, this would have been prevented. That lets us know, okay, we don't need a policy change, but maybe there's an re-education, or maybe we need to look at where this information's at, so that we can put it more in the direct line of sight of our leaders, so that they're more aware of how to conduct these activities in the manner that we have designed, so that it's safe.
Yes, we at the BSA, we love safety, we love a process, we love data.
I
I
think everyone
mean,
loves that, though, right? I mean, that's
yeah.
initially, we uh, related to that. There's every year we do a survey of parents and leaders about their experiences in scouting, and we like to know, what do you like about scouting, what do you not like about scouting. And we know the most recent survey from the past year tells us that Cub Scout parents and leaders feel that their child is safe in scouting. Like, I think it was in the 90s, right? 90, 93, 94% were saying that they felt safe at their unit.
Yep.
um, and I love the response that our National Director of Research, Pat Wellen, says about that. She says, but that's like the ground floor. If you think about it, if people don't think a program is safe to begin with, they're not going to join. Right. And so we want that to be kind of in the back of people's minds as well, when you are making sure that you are enforcing the guide to safe scouting and our leadership standards and our membership standards, that those things are in place, and people actually appreciate when they see the leaders taking that seriously. They appreciate that. Now sometimes it might feel like it's a little bit of a pain, or there's a little extra work to be done with that, but in the long run, you're going to actually have more members because parents see that and they appreciate that. They're not going to tell you that. They don't, right? The leader doesn't really come up to parent rarely comes up to a leader and says, I really do appreciate that that you have two qualified adult leaders at all of our meetings, and that they're well trained, and that that doesn't happen, right? But I can tell you, if I feel that my child is not in a safe environment and they aren't being properly supervised, that I'm going to walk away. And if chances are, if you reach out to me and ask me why I left, I'm probably just ignore you. I'm not going to respond to you. So you really don't know why that person left. Well, there's probably a good chance that it had to do with them not feeling safe.
Yeah, and there's no sarcasm to it at all. I think, younger, we're talking about Cub Scout age kids. I don't think parents would even consider a program that wasn't safe. And I think we kind of pride ourselves on how important that is. Jesse says, we have a policy for that. I love that I can find reference slash guidance for almost everything. It helps ensure the safety of our youth. Totally agree, Jesse.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, that's I'm glad to hear that's the feedback we're getting from the field, that they know that there is it's written somewhere, and if it's not right, then it's probably not scouting, right? You can't just do whatever everyone thinks they want to do, and do it because everyone says they enjoy it, and just call it scouting because everyone happens to be a scout. That's not how that works.
Right. It's funny. Oh, Catherine's got a good question. And also, I'm just going to say that's a benefit of being an organization that's been around for more than 100 years. We've kind of thought of everything. Um, before we go, Catherine's question is just a slightly on a different topic. So before we go there, my last question is, are there some common mistakes you see in these incident reports? Is there something people leave out? I know we talked about, maybe not getting into enough detail. Is there anything else?
No, that's going to be centered around that, right? So first of all, it's knowing about it and completing one. That's the key element: completing one and submitting it to your council, so that the council's involved, the council's aware, because on their level, they're doing the same thing. They're looking at the trends, and they're doing an analysis of these incidences or near misses. Again, we want to reiterate that we're talking about not only does, if someone got severely injured, right? That's when most of us think, oh, now I've got to submit something. Well, even if someone got slightly injured, someone sprained their ankle, right? Again, someone maybe just cut their finger or burnt their hand, right? And it was only first degree burn. We didn't have to take them anywhere. We put some ice on it and they were okay. You still should write that down in that incident and then complete an incident report, right? We may find that there's something if someone burnt their hand while they were cooking, right? Uh, what what stove were you using? Were you outdoors? Were you indoors? Were you, what kind of equipment was there? Again, try to paint the picture, because we aren't there and the person reading this isn't there. So you try to give the whole scenario. The more detail, the better. It really gives us a better picture of what happened, and then we can evaluate. Otherwise, what happens is, if it's a serious enough incident, um, we have to follow up with people who the leaders or the adults who completed the incident report, to find out the missing details and the gaps that we have there.
Yeah, because you want to tell the full picture. With that example you gave, I'm thinking if in the summer we're seeing like an uptick in burns, when kids are camping and cooking, well, what if those were all attributed to like a recalled stove? That changes the picture, whether is
Right.
it, a lack of
That's
training, or were they using some kind of faulty equipment? Yeah.
right. And you're dead on. It helps us do a proper evaluation. We are not going to assume, again, that, oh, that was some leader's fault and they weren't paying attention, and it's all, that's not what this is about. This is about really trying to work together collaboratively to provide a safe environment. We have a safe environment. We want to keep it that way. And the way that we do that is together, and just being transparent with, okay, this is what happened, and here are the details of how it happened. and not leaving anything out. And then that can be evaluated. Again, is this a training issue? Is this a programmatic issue? Or is this we have all these policies in place that could have prevented this? It's just these leaders didn't know that, right? And
Right.
how do we that's a whole nother topic, right? That's a whole nother topic.
We will, I'm sure, cover that and have covered it previously. I want to ask if behind the scenes Brian can put up that QR code one more time. If you're at home watching, you can pull out your phone, open your camera app, and scan this QR code. It'll take you to a URL that is also linked in the comments, where you can see an incident report and learn a little bit more about incident reporting. Kath,
So again,
oh,
this
Sarah,
is for the three things I want to make sure you incident reporting. Again, if someone gets hurt or injured, right, or there's a violation of our youth protection policies, or this could also be for cases of being bullied where emotionally we're not providing a safe space, or there wasn't a safe space for that. That is appropriate to complete an incident report on as well. Or there was a near miss. There was, oh, you know what, no one really got hurt, but man, this felt kind of dangerous. And we feel kind of lucky that no one did get hurt. We want to know about those.
right. And I think you just answered Catherine's question without us even having to ask it. So thank you, Anthony. And Sarah says, remember, if you have questions, you can always talk to your commissioner as well. Remember, they're there to have your back. Anthony, what have we left out? Anything else you want to say on incident reporting?
No, that's really it. We want to just bring more awareness to the fact that this exists. This tool exists, and we want it to be used. And it's a good thing, right? You look, if you're an active pack, and you are doing pack overnighters, or you're going to council events and activities, and you're having regular meetings, we know like something accidents happen. We know that. So when we see in a whole area that there's no incidents being reported at all, we start going, well, either they're not meeting, um, or they're just not aware that there's this tool that we want to know if something happened or something could have happened, and are unaware of the fact that there's an incident report that we want you to complete and submit to your council, and then the council then submits that to us through a portal.
Very good. Well, everyone at home, this is an important topic. Tag a leader or parent who you think should know about incident reporting in the comments. Also, reminder, all our past episodes of Cub Chat Live, we've still got them for you to view. Behind the scenes, Brian may put up a link at the bottom of the screen where you can view those. Yes, he's on it. scoutingmagazine.org/Cub Chat Live. Check out past episodes. And one more time, if you are looking for the BSA incident report, you can head to the URL that is in the comments. Also, we have a QR code that you can scan. Thank you so much for, tackling this subject, Anthony. I know it's a serious one, but it's definitely an important one.
Yes, and that's the key. We again, culturally, we want people to see this as a partnership. That this helps everyone provide a fun and safe environment. And the reason why this is being used is again not so that we can come up with more rules and regulations, but rather we want to know if the ones that we have are working, right? Or is this just there's something else there that we need to evaluate? Or again, sometimes it's just an unfortunate accident that happened, and there wasn't anything that we could have done to prevent it, and we know that happens.
Absolutely. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today. We will be back next week for not only Truck on Tuesday, but another wonderful Cub Chat Live. It's going to be a good one. Thanks, Anthony, for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
All right, thanks, Gina.